Americans spent more than $2 billion purchasing pets last year, but half a dozen states around the country are now cracking down on a controversial payment arrangement for pets that some call predatory. It's called pet leasing. Supporters say, as long as there's full transparency, what's the problem? But as Rahel Solomon reports now, critics argue that a growing number of customers have no idea what a pet lease is or that they're even signing one.
Bring it here, Chasey.
It was love at first sight for Patty Smith, her husband Scott, and Maltese Chase.
Scott fell in love with him as soon as they took him out of the cage and put him in his lap.
They bought Chase in June 2018 from Breeders' Club of America in Middletown, New Jersey. They negotiated a price, handed over their debit card, and prepared to leave, except they were told their car didn't work.
And they said, well, why don't you just finance the dog?
The Smiths agreed and signed the contract, planning to pay off the balance right away. But when the bill came, their puppy love quickly turned to buyer's remorse. The financing was actually a pet lease, meaning Chase didn't belong to them until he was paid off in full. According to the ASPCA, pet leases tend to be 18 months to 3 years long and usually require an additional final payment to keep the animal. In this case, $505.
A dog that costs $2,000 could end up costing a consumer $7,000.
If the consumer doesn't make their payments, the financing company can repossess the animal, just like a car.
We think that they're using the threat of repossession, unfortunately, to basically squeeze as much money out of the consumer as they can.
The lending companies associated with the Smiths contract, Virginia-based My Pet Funding and California-based Monterey Financial, declined repeated requests for comment, as did Breeders' Club of America, although the store did say it stopped offering pet leases earlier this year. The contract that was emailed to the Smith family emphasizes that the agreement is a lease. But the family says in the store, they were shown on an iPad only the areas where a signature is required.
I think their argument would be, we bolded it, we underlined it, we couldn't make it more clear. What would you say to that?
And why did you tell me it was a
Finance, and we didn't see that page.
New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy just signed a law in August banning pet leasing, joining California, Indiana, Nevada, New York, and Washington. U.S. Senator Bob Menendez says the Federal Trade Commission needs to do more to protect consumers.
They should know what that ultimate payment is. They should know the terms and conditions. There should be absolute transparency as there is required under the Consumer Lending Act. And we want the Federal Trade Commission to issue rules that ultimately make that happen.
Sit. Can you pull? Can you pull?
After consulting with their lawyer, the Smiths decided not to pursue litigation and paid off Chase within weeks of buying him. And while they agree you can't put a price on love,
Every once in a while I tell them, hey, it cost me X amount of dollars. But
the Smiths say they wish this love wasn't so expensive, a whopping $1,200 more than they expected. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Rahel Solomon.
There are other companies, by the way, besides the two that Rahel mentioned that offers similar financing. And the ASPCA also points out if the pet gets sick or dies while you're still paying off the lease, the consumer is still on the hook for the money.